Hello, wonderful people of the internet. It's Nick, and I'm back again with another video, this time on how to get a raise. So I'm kind of doing a series of these for newer admins, and I thought this would be a pretty good topic. This is not for people who need a job per se, but this is something that I think is a common issue for people who or early in their career. Heck, for a lot of people, even later on in their career, they just don't get how this process works. So I thought I'd put a little slideshow together, and just to kind of be funky about it, I wrote a little bash script that instead of using PowerPoint, thought this would be sort of a fun way to kind of try to do it. So yeah, thanks again for watching the videos. I'm still kind of rather blown away by the response from you guys. I posted that first video a couple days ago at the time of this recording, and it's already up to over 500 views, I think. And then I posted the second one on mental illness. I get a third one sort of in the queue, so that one hasn't been posted yet. I'm trying to get a little bit ahead of it, just because I wasn't expecting this, and I've got a little bit of free time right now, so I figured get these out of the way. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching this. The second one has like 200 and something views on it already, and the I screwed up the formatting. Let me cancel out of this. Fix this real quick. Yeah, so people on the internet are actually nice. That's really cool. You guys have been like so just sweet, I guess is the best way to put it. Like the comments have just been so friendly and supportive, and I've seen people kind of going back and forth in the comments on Reddit, sort of like chatting amongst each other and being super nice and supportive. And yeah, that's not something we see on the internet all that often anymore. So kudos to you guys for just generally not being douchebags, which is awesome. But above and beyond that, kind of being awesome to each other, which is neat. So yeah, so without further ado, the subject of today is how to get a raise, and it's an important one because I think a lot of people have a very confused understanding of how to get a raise. What they think it is every year your boss gives you a raise, and that's basically the process. So I think probably the best way to sort of deconstruct this is to start off by looking at it in just the general idea of why should you get a raise? What's the purpose of a raise? And the purpose of a raise is twofold. Firstly, it's to keep up with inflation. And that's a really important aspect that a lot of people don't think about when looking at a raise. What is inflation like? If the annual rate of inflation where you live, let's say, is 2.5% on average per year, if you do not get a raise of 2.5% per year, your salary is being decreased. Right? Because current market, what you can go buy with that money versus what you make has gone down, right? You can buy less stuff with the money that you get. Even if, let's say, you're making $100,000 a year this year and you're making $100,000 a year next year, the amount of money that you're making has gone down in current market value. So the first piece is just to keep current with what you're making right now. And I know for a lot of people, this is like no brainer stuff, and you already know this. And you're like, Nick, why are you making a video on it? This is something that everybody knows. Well, not everybody knows it. And especially people that are newer in their career may not realize it. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, in order for you not to leave, right? They want to keep you happy. They want to ensure that you remain a company at Initech or whatever your corporation is. Your overlords, your masters want to make sure that you stay employed, making them money, because you are an asset and you are making them money. If you were not an asset and you were not making them money, you would not have a job. That's how companies work. They're not kind, benevolent people. There are exceptions. They're pretty few and far between. I remember a number of years ago when I was growing up in Massachusetts, there was an old mill company. They ran an industrial mill, and this was a family-owned business. It had been run since like the 1800s, and there was a major fire at the facility, and the mill, the plant burned down. So the guy who owned the company, because it was a dude, like a guy who owned it, and his parents had owned it before him, and his grandparents had owned it before them, was like, well, screw it. We're in really big trouble. All of the people who work for me are going to not be receiving paychecks if I don't figure something out. So he took the home that had been in his family for generations and he sold it and paid his employees for like 2 or 3 months out of pocket, in order to make sure that they were okay until the plant was rebuilt and they could get back in business. And it was a really big story at the time. It was in the papers and things like that. But that's not the norm. That's not generally how things go. And if you're a publicly traded company, legally they're obligated not to do stuff like that. Legally, they're obligated to make the shareholders as much money as they possibly can. They have a fiduciary obligation to do so, which is a fancy lawyer term that I know because I grew up as the son of a lawyer. They have a legal requirement to go make them as much money as possible. So you're only employed there because you make the money. So the reasons why you should get a raise is to at least maintain what you're currently making, and B, to keep making more money so that someone else does not try to take you away and hire you to their company. So that's the second piece. So that's why your boss, wants to give you a raise, right? So why should your boss give you a raise? Well, we talked about those kind of pieces. To maintain it current and basically to make sure that you are not competitive. But and I should have spell check these or grammatical check these. The reason why your boss should give you a raise, as opposed to just giving an employee a raise generally, is specific to you. And there's a couple pieces to this. We'll talk about one of them in a shortly, which is the idea of a raise pool. But you specifically should be creating value for the company. You specifically should be giving, creating money for the company. So what you need to do is to give your boss reasons to give you a raise, right? So one of the things that you should be doing, and if you're not doing this, try to start now, is to keep a document, and you update it every day with everything that you do for your company, right? I fixed this server. I, saved money by reducing the cost of storage here. Was used, enabled deduplication, or we migrated the stuff over here, and all the stuff that you do. You want to be able to have, a thud factor effectively when you walk into your annual review, and they say, okay, so why should you get a raise? You should be able to, obviously this is digital now, but you should be able to drop like a binder on the desk that shows like, listen, all this stuff that I've done. It's crazy. I've, re-engineered the whole thing. And it's like, and it's super impressive. So you got to give your boss a reason to give you a raise. So that's one of the big pieces to go do this. So one of the big things that a lot of people don't understand is the idea of raise pools. And this is something I was completely oblivious to for a really, really long time, because I hadn't worked on the management side of things. And the way that raise pools work is each department gets a pool of money to give raises. And that's designed to be smaller than what they would want. So effectively what happens is all of the different managers in an organization have a meeting with the person that they report to, whoever it is, the C title guy that they all report to. And they say, I think Jim, Sally, Bill, whoever it is, should get a lot of money. We should give them a raise. And the reason why we should give them a raise is blah. Now, when it comes to us who are working on the IT side of the house, we are at a major disadvantage here. So if the manager that you report to is the head of sales, let's say, right, for your particular region or whatever it is, they then go to their boss and they say, I think we should give Dave or Jane or Sally or whoever it is a raise because this particular person brought in $2.5 million worth of revenue this quarter. And that's obviously really good for the company. And the person that they're reporting to, who probably is an MBA type businessy person, they say, I understand what that means. I'm going to give that person a raise. Right? And then your boss comes in and they say, well, Jen has increased operational efficiency on our high compute cluster by 28%. And what that means is they were able to purchase less. And by this time, the person that they're talking to has already tuned out because they're using terms like operational efficiency and they're talking all this tech mumbo jumbo. So one of the things that you want to do as an employee is give your boss weapons, because your boss absolutely wants to give you a raise. They want to give everyone a raise. Think about how much better you would think about your boss if your boss pulled you aside tomorrow at work and said, hey, guess what? I'm bumping up your salary by 25% because you're just awesome. And I like those pants. And you're really cool. Maybe the pants comment is not very smart in this day and age. But whatever it was, just because you're awesome, I'm giving you, these, this 25% raise. Well, you're probably going to be pretty chipper for the next week. You're probably going to be in a pretty goddamn good mood, right? And that's going to be a lot easier for your boss when it comes to managing you. They come and they say, hey, man, I'm super sorry about this, but we need you to come in on Friday for like a couple extra hours at the end of the day. We're gonna schedule an outage for this update that comes like, you mind sticking around for an extra 2-3 hours on Friday? I know it's a hassle. And you're like, dude, you just gave me a 25% raise last week? Absolutely. Am I going to come in for 2 hours on Friday? I will cancel my dinner plans. Like, sure. You guys love me. You're taking care of me. So it's your boss's best interest to give everyone a raise. They want to give everyone a raise. They're getting denied, right? They don't have all the money. They don't just have a fountain of dollars that they can just scoop money out of and give it to you. So they need to justify your raise. So you got to give them weapons, and those weapons have dollar signs in front of them. So one of the most useful things that you can do is anytime you can translate a task that you did into either money coming in or money saved for the company look for those opportunities to go do that. So that's the raise pull aspect of this. The second piece is that a raise is a carrot and a stick. And this goes for the employer's piece and your piece as well, right? So what you're doing when you create that list is the carrot, right? These are all of the things that I have done in the past for the company, and the past is the best predictor of the future that we have. Therefore, if I've been creating carrots, I've been bringing carrots into work. This is a terrible analogy. For the last year, you probably can expect me to do the same thing going forward, right? So that's the carrot. They can expect getting some carrots because everybody likes carrots apparently in this analogy. Obviously, it's you're leading the horse, but what a lot of people don't do, excuse me, is have a stick. A lot of people don't have a stick. A lot of people don't even consider the stick, right? What is the stick? The stick is the ability to leave. A lot of people don't have the ability to leave, right? So one of the things I encourage people to do, and this is regardless of whether you have a job that you love, that you intend on staying at, or not, you should be interviewing. You should be interviewing at least once or twice a year. At least once or twice a year, right? One of the things that I see happens quite often is that people don't understand what their market value is. They just don't know. They have a perceived notion of what their market value is, but it may be in your particular area, somebody who knows Unix or cloud services or Windows administration or whatever it is that you decide that you want to go do. Somebody who knows those things is rare, right? Maybe you live somewhere in the Midwest in a smaller city, right? Probably not a huge amount of Unix talent. Now things have changed a lot. There's a lot more people using Linux and Unix, but there might be significantly less. So you might have a lot of leverage there. There might be a couple different companies that would be really interested in having you. So be interviewing, right? Even if you don't take the job, now what you can do is you can go back to your boss and say, hey, so interesting thing happened to me the other day. I had a recruiter reach out to me, and I was just curious to see how much I'm worth, and I figured, well, maybe take the interview. And it turns out that they really liked me, and they made me an offer. So this is the offer. They're bumping my salary up by X amount, and whatever it is, right? Don't exaggerate. Just like if you get an offer, you can bring that in. And this doesn't need to be during your annual review. This could be any time of the year. You go into your boss and you say, hey, this thing happened. You tell them about that. And then you say, I would really like to stay here. I love you guys. This is one of the coolest teams I've ever worked with. You're one of the best bosses I've ever had. I've had a couple bad bosses in the past, and I know the value of having somebody who's reasonable and respects work-life balance. And I think that you're probably going to advance in your career too. So maybe down the line there'd be an opening here that I could potentially go fill if that's a thing you're into. Be honest, but like tell them the reasons why you want to stay, and don't be shy about it, right? Like if there's a list of reasons why you want to stay at your job, and obviously you probably do because you didn't just like take that offer immediately, which is an option. You're going back to your boss and you're saying like, hey, this is a place I'd like to stay at, and you give them all your reasons and you say, listen, can you guys come close to matching that offer? Because I'd really like to stay here, right? So now you have a stick. You've been maintaining this list of all the great benefits that you've been accumulating over the last year. So what you do is you say, I know that this probably isn't going to be exclusively in your hands. So let me send you an email in a couple minutes that has, a list of all the different things that I've accomplished over the last, 6, 7 months since the last review. And when you go, talk to folks about it, then hopefully we can work something out. And they may come back and say, yeah, we're going to give you a raise. They may come back and say, we can't give you a raise until the next annual review because blah 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 blah. And at this point, now you have the option of saying, okay, well, can you give me your word that when the annual review comes around, you guys will give me a raise? And that's a conversation that you guys are going to have. But effectively, whether you're salaried or not, the way that employment works in the U.S. In most places, and I'm generalizing here about the U.S. because that's what I'm familiar with. It may work slightly differently where you're from, but in the U.S. we have at will employment. So what that means is your employer can fire you at any time, right? Unless you're a contractor and you literally have a contract, which is something that I really like. This is one of the reasons why I've generally worked the way that I've worked for the last 10 years as a consultant and a trainer, because I have a piece of paper that says this is our relationship. This is what I'm required to do for you, and you are in turn required to do for me. But a lot of people work salaried, right? So if you're a salaried employee, a lot of people think of themselves as like this protected status kind of thing. The truth is, your employer can fire you at any time. So if you look at it more like you're an independent contractor, even though you're salaried, well, you now have another client that could potentially be hiring you for another job, and it gives you the option to sort of think about that and decide if you want to go do, because this is a negotiation, and a lot of people get confused about how to negotiate. It's not nearly as complicated as most people think it is. All the stuff that you read in these business books and silliness and stuff like that about like, oh, the first person to talk, the first person to make an offer, you're going to lose. You lose. No, the person with the leverage in a negotiation wins. That's just how it works. You can tweak things a little bit. If you're right on the cusp of an agreement, and maybe that whoever talked first thing will get you an extra couple bucks or whatever it is. But generally speaking, if you're obviously somebody who's going to create a huge amount of value for the company, and you have another option where you can leave, all of a sudden you have all the leverage. So that's going to make your life a lot easier. So when it comes to getting a raise, what you want to have is options. What you want to have is leverage. So be interviewing. That's the big takeaway. I'm going to do another video about how you should always be interviewing and how to interview. So those are some things that'll be coming up. So yeah, again, thank you guys for watching these videos. Hopefully this is useful. These are really early days in my video creation things, so I'm kind of guessing at the topics that people may find useful. So if this is something that you think is a good topic, or these kinds of videos are good topics, let me know in the comments down below, or I will almost certainly post a link on the our Linux admin subreddit, so you can give me feedback there. You can message me through YouTube. You can I put a link on the sort of thing below here, but I'll put it on my YouTube video as well. If you go to my website, which is nicholasbernstein.com/training, right now I've got a list of some of the classes that I teach through Fastlane. You guys can sign up for there. They do in-person classes. They do online classes. They do hybrid, where some students are in person, some are online. And if you decide that you want to sign up for one of those classes that I teach, during the sign up process, just feel free to ask for me by name. So those are there. Also, I'll probably be updating it in the future. One of the things that I've been considering doing is to make some more general kind of introduction to Linux classes, Bash scripting classes. I've got some classes that I've been talking to some folks about in terms of a Docker slash Kubernetes class. And I think probably what I'll do with those is, and I'm still kind of early days with these kind of things. I may put some of them on like a Gumroads or maybe like a Udemy. So if those are of interest to you, you can check back on the nicholasbernstein.com/training, or if this is later on in the future, way after I've posted these, if you go back and look at that, you'll probably see some of those classes available there. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked these videos, subscribe. I'm going to be adding more, and especially since I'm so new to this, if you subscribe or leave comments or stuff like that, that's like super motivating for me to keep making more of these. And yeah, give me feedback in terms of what you guys like in terms of topics, if this is sort of going in the right direction. I think for right now, probably the initial sort of videos that I create are going to be kind of topical. They're going to be, how do you do these kind of things, but not specifically the tech, because there's a lot of those videos already on YouTube. I probably will do some of them down the road. Tours of different operating systems, and kind of things that you might want to look at. But we'll get more to that kind of stuff down the road. I think initially the kind of stuff I'm gonna be doing is videos like this, things that are career oriented towards becoming a Linux admin or a systems engineer or a kind of a DevOps role, things like that. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up now because I never know how to end these, and I just kind of keep going. But thanks for watching. I hope you find it useful. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in another video at some point in the future.